YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we lived in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. As the government plays make-believe, because that's what they do. They pretend to actually be a functioning government. They're pretending at the time being that there's a shutdown going on. Of course, they're keeping everybody distracted with who's to blame. Democrats are responsible because they're not allowing the government to run or function because they want to give our tax money to illegal immigrants. So, of course, this keeps the left and the right divided about who is responsible. This is just a game. It's just a show. This is a transition into AI governance. And it's not just happening in America. They are transitioning all governments across the world into artificial intelligence run governance. One of the first things that we're seeing, of course, is how there are mass federal firings. All of these people in Congress can't afford to have a government shutdown because they're not getting paid right now, right? So a lot of workers are quitting their job. Donald Trump is threatening that they're going to fire all of these people. Now, most people are under the impression that these employees are just going to be fired and never actually replaced. Well, they're right. They're never going to be replaced with human beings. But once everything is run through artificial intelligence, well, then people will start realizing that this is a game that they've been playing. The left-right divide, pointing fingers at one another, keeping you distracted while they're building this out right in front of your face. So all these employees are losing their jobs. Trump is even saying that he's going to withhold their pay, forcing them to quit. And then you look at the other noise around us with the government shutdown, talking about air traffic control once again. As I covered for months and months and months, all of these planes crashing into one another, planes falling out of the sky. Who's to blame? DEI hires, right? All part of their game, because every part of our day-to-day life is going to be run through AI. And that is part of what they've done with the DEI narrative. They're making regular people afraid to get on an airplane because they don't know if the person flying the plane even has the credentials to fly a plane, right? Because he was hired because of his skin color or what his preference or her preference was in the bedroom or what their pronouns might have been. Planes are falling out of the sky because DEI hires an air traffic controller, making it unsafe to fly because these people do not know what they're doing. It's all part of the game. And now all the narrative out there again is that we have more problems in the airline industry. People's flights are getting canceled. People who are flying for jobs, for meetings, aren't able to get there because there's a shortage of employees. But don't worry, because we already know what the solution is, and that's part of what they've been telling us for a few years now, that AI is going to replace air traffic controllers, just like AI is going to replace your government. AI is going to replace you. AI is going to run and control everything. So while all this is going on, well, everybody's kind of just saying, well, I'm glad the government shut down, which of course everybody should be glad the government shut down, but the government's never really been running. All the people in Congress are actors, and what they're doing is sabotaging every part of the infrastructure that's been in place. The government itself would actually function if this entire system wasn't controlled by them. If you could actually vote for, say, the guy up the street, that maybe he was a better person than any of these guys on the ballot. You could put him on there and say, hey, you know, everybody in town likes this guy. Maybe we should run him for president. Well, he doesn't have millions of dollars to get on the ballot, right? And of course, we know that none of the votes actually count because they never even show us or prove to us that they count. We just turn on a television set and we're told, this is the president, here's your new senator, here's your new governor. And these sheeple actually believe that somebody somewhere is counting all of this up and that they're actually trusting the people and allowing the people to control who are in these positions of power. And it's an utter joke. So while all that's going on, while our government is shut down or pretending to be shut down, what they're doing is transitioning you into AI governance, showing you that, look, The economy's fine with the government shutdown. The stock market's at an all-time high. Nobody seems to care that these people aren't there. We don't need these people, right? Well, of course. And they don't want you to need people in power, because once AI governance is put into place, you are under 100% surveillance and 100% control like never before. So while that's all happening, the UN just had their big UN meeting, right? And what was going on at the UN meeting? Well, all people were talking about is how Donald Trump's escalator, stopped functioning, and how he read them the riot act on the teleprompter about, hey, this is a disgrace that my escalator stopped. I'm going to investigate this. It's sabotage. Well, you got the sabotage part, right? Because what they're doing is sabotaging government and distracting you with little childish things like escalators going off. While right in front of you, Donald Trump was talking about what? He was talking about bringing in an AI certificate for verification, which is another fancy term for the digital ID. And this is from the World Economic Forum this week. The UN has moved to close the gap in AI governance. And if you think Donald Trump's not in on it, you're just convincing yourself of that. Because if you're not paying attention to what's happening in America with AI governance, what do you think all these data centers are actually for? I know that MAGA and the alt-right media don't want to address these things because they don't want to actually admit that Donald Trump is bringing in the United Nations and the World Economic Forum's AI governance infrastructure to America. In fact, they want America to be first in line ahead of everybody else as they build out this technocracy here in America. Well, Donald Trump accelerating federal permitting of data center infrastructure. Trump executive order pushes for quicker data center construction. So what do you think the data center construction is for? It's for AI governance. It is to bring in a full-on surveillance state. Every single thing that is recorded, every single camera that is filming something, it's all going into these data centers. In fact, you are a part of these data centers. Every single thing you ever said online or ever say online, every email that you send, every blink that you make in front of a camera, all of it is going to be a part of these data centers. But they don't want you to think about what these data centers are. They just want you to know that these data centers are coming and they're being built all around you. But don't worry about that. Worry about if men are playing men's sports and women are playing women's sports, and worry about things that 10-year-olds would talk about in the high school auditorium instead of worrying about what your corrupt government is doing. Building out the Tower of Babel reborn, because that's what AI governance is. And what you're seeing is them play this game. You may have noticed over the last couple of years or so, when they have these hearings in Congress of people like Sam Altman, Mark Zuckerberg, they go into Congress and they get read the riot act, right? You're canceling this, you're doing that, you're suppressing speech here, right? Nothing ever gets accomplished because it's part of the show. That's what Congress is. It's a show. They put it on TV so that you watch it. You think that these people are actually working for you in case you're actually thinking about a revolution or holding these people accountable. So all these big tech guys go into Congress, and what do they talk about? Censorship. They talk about regulations of AI, regulations of social media, and nothing gets resolved, right? And that's all been done by design for what's happening right now, so that the governments around the earth can come together as one. The United Nations, World Economic Forum, all of them, and blame people like Mark Zuckerberg and blame people like Sam Altman and say, look, these companies are running rampant on their own. They're unregulated. But the fact of the matter is Altman, Zuckerberg, all of these CEOs work for DARPA. They're DARPA employees, just like Elon Musk. They do not come up with this technology, okay? This is government technology. Their job is to sell it to you, to give you the illusion that you're going out and you're purchasing a phone that's going to keep you under surveillance inside your home because you want to purchase it. And that's exactly what people are doing. Like I've said a million times, if they knocked on your door before the cell phone came out and said, here's the new phone. Look at it. It doesn't plug into the wall. You walk around. This is from the government. You're going to have it. Everybody would go, no way. It's the illusion that you're buying these things. You're buying an Alexa. You're buying a Ring for your own self-enjoyment or for your own protection. That's what they're doing. And now all this stuff is coming to a head with these characters in Congress pretending to be, the CEOs of corporations, but really they're just DARPA employees. Even recently we had Google, right? Google admitting we censored everybody. We terminated all of these accounts during COVID because the Biden administration told us to, but now we're bringing everybody back. We're going to bring back MAGA. Well, they'll bring MAGA back, of course, but they won't bring people like the call for an uprising back, right? I mean, this has been going on for years and years and years. Only takes about 10 seconds for it to get reviewed and it automatically gets rejected, but they're pretending, right, that Congress is working for you and they're bringing back your rights. They're taking the power out of big tech's hand. They're putting it in the government's hand. And this is all of these clowns at the United Nations, including an actor who I want to play what he happened to say as well, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, best known for playing Robin in the Batman movies. Well, he's there, right? You might say, why is this guy speaking there? Well, because actors are also government assets as well. And they're speaking there to get you on board because they're the social influencers, the social engineers. And listen to all of them talk about how big tech has been, how wonderful all this technology is, but it's time to regulate it. We need rules and all this stuff in place. Now their job is to convince you that we need a global entity to monitor everything online because it's gotten out of control. Big tech has taken away speech. Big tech has allowed this versus that. Big tech has allowed young kids to look at pornography. We got to get the government involved. And really what it's about is giving the government control, which they already have, but your permission to allow them to bring in what they're calling AI governance, to police everything. And of course, this all leads, as Gordon will tell you, to a digital ID, which we all really need because it's not fair that people out there are anonymous or people out there might be pretending to be somebody that they're not. So we need not only AI governance, we need full-on ending anonymity on the net.
The establishment of the UN Independent International Scientific Panel on AI and the global dialogue on AI governance marks a significant step forward in a global effort to harness the benefits of artificial intelligence while addressing its risks. The scientific panel on AI will serve as a crucial bridge between cutting-edge AI research and policy making. By providing rigorous, independent scientific assessments, it will help the international community to anticipate emerging challenges and make informed decisions about how we govern this transformative technology. The Secretary General calls on all stakeholders to support this historic initiative and contribute to building a future where artificial intelligence serves the common good of all humanity.
The power of AI is too important to be left to just a privileged few. We must harness its potential, minimize its risk, and equalize its reach. Experts say AI could accelerate progress on nearly 80% of the Sustainable Development Goals. Within this decade, it will reshape industry, economies, and societies faster than any technology before it. To harness it, we must invest in people, in digital skills, in inclusive education, in AI literacy, so no one is left behind. Because the future will not be shaped by algorithms alone. It will be shaped by choices we make together, if we decide so.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's the first time I've ever been to any kind of function of the United Nations, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty excited about it. Thank you all very much for inviting me. So, the 20th Annual Internet Governance Forum. No big surprise, we're going to be speaking a lot here about artificial intelligence. It's easy to see that AI is changing the internet a lot, and arguably it's poised to change the whole world. Of course, nobody knows exactly how. Personally, I believe that this technology has the potential to make our lives better in so many ways, to solve big problems and to expand knowledge, to create beauty. But I also do see the potential for harm, for a greater and greater concentration of power, and for the denigration of humanity itself. So how do we get the good stuff and avoid the bad stuff, right? Well, I think that one of the keys is in the very name of this gathering, the Internet Governance Forum. We need to have some governance. We need to establish some values. We need to make some rules. We need to set up systems to enforce those rules. Look at the last 20 years of another revolutionary technology, social media. Governments largely stayed hands-off with social media. We put our trust in Silicon Valley. And yes, social media has been beneficial in a lot of ways, but it's also been deeply damaging in a lot of other ways. And we might have mitigated some of that harm if we had been more proactive with our governance. I know a lot of you here probably have a lot of good ideas about how to govern AI. I'll briefly mention the specific idea that I'm here to talk about. I'm going to dive more deeply into it later. And that's the basic principle that your digital self should belong to you. That the data that humans produce, our writings and our voices and our connections, our experiences, our ideas, should belong to us. And that, yeah, thanks.
So that's what all these people are talking about in front of you while Donald Trump's building out the data centers, talking about all this stuff that doesn't actually matter. You have all these unelected people talking to you about how somebody needs to hold Zuckerberg accountable. And that sounds good on paper because everybody goes, yeah, these guys, Zuckerberg, these guys on YouTube, they censored all of us. Somebody does need to hold them accountable. But that's been the ploy that they've been pulling. The government's been behind it the whole time. The government is behind the internet. Facebook is really LifeLog, a creation of the CIA. Okay? Google is really Alphabet Inc., which is really a tentacle of the United States government, a way of watching and monitoring the things that you're thinking and what you're searching on the internet, because you're literally telling them by everything you search what you're thinking about. They're already inside of your mind. And now they're all coming together using terms like equality, equity, science. This terminology is to confuse you, as if what they're doing is, well, you're not smart enough to figure out what this is scientifically. You know, us building a control grid where you're not going to be able to piss without our say-so, where we're going to be able to turn off your electricity because of all the smart devices you have whenever we feel like it. We'll have the police at your door if you tweet something or post something on Facebook that we don't like. If you search for something in a Google search and we think that it's controversial, like, I don't know, how to know the government is tyrannical, well, we'll show up at your front door and arrest you. Of course, don't you dare search for something like the blood libel or what really may have happened in certain wars and everything else. They'll show up at your front door. Right? And as Gordon said, right, your digital self should belong to you. And the only way to do that is to bring in a digital ID as well, because the AI governance runs through a digital identity. Every single thing is done through the internet. Just imagine they lock you down again and they tell you there's another COVID. And you might say, well, I'm not going to fall for that. Well, you don't have to fall for it, but when every single store is shut down in your town because the government shuts them down, and you're forced to buy your groceries online, and you're forced to shop fully online, and you're forced to school your kids online, and then you realize, well, you got to have a digital ID to do all of this stuff, well, then you're going to struggle to figure out how to get away from this system when you're forced into this system. And as we see in the UK, they're telling you digital ID is coming, and you're not going to be able to work without it. Another thing that we're seeing going on is these characters being revealed in front of us as not even being real AI. For example, when Donald Trump gave that speech about Charlie Kirk's fake assassination attempt, many people noticed that it was AI. Even the sheeple in the comments were questioning if it was, is he glitching? They're using AI-generated Trump to speak to us? This is AI, right? My guy is so dead, they're using AI. Everybody in the comments and everybody out there has been talking about it, even the mainstream a bit, about how it was an AI version of Donald Trump. Well, guess what? Guess what? That's going on all around the earth right now. How about over in Germany? You know how the German government is going all in on AI? Well, they have an AI version of their own president that they're using to condition the masses. They're calling it the Wimitar, an AI avatar of the German state minister for culture and media. Launched in late September, it's intended to be a public example of fair AI that promotes creativity and strengthens democratic discourse. And for the most part, their artificial intelligence is so advanced that we don't know if any of these people that have been presented to us on television are even real in the first place. And most people actually don't believe that. It's just a hard thing to sell to people because they go, I can't think of that. Biden wasn't real. Now you tell me Trump is AI. Well, how do you think these 90-year-old people are flying around on jets all over the place? They're trying to convince you that, even recently, Donald Trump doesn't sleep. He's up all night. He wants to talk about politics, and he wants to talk how he could better this and do that. And people look at these guys, they're in their 80s, and you're going, how do these guys have more energy than us? We're all getting hit with the same EMF frequencies as them. Well, they're using AI in a lot of cases. And you might say, well, we would see a lot of the glitches in the AI. Well, people saw the glitch in the Trump AI, but the AI that the government uses is so far advanced that there aren't any glitches in it. But it's hard for people to fathom that they're watching a simulation where there's characters pretending to be politicians, and half the time they're not even there. They're using AI. So even in Russia, we have the crackdowns going on with digital freedoms, right? Russia's been using the WeChat for a couple of months now, where when you purchase your phone, this app is automatically on your phone. So in order to have the phone, you got to have this app on your phone. You can't get rid of the app. And what's on the app? Well, the app has government has full access to the mic, to the camera, to the user data, and they share it with the state right into those data centers, right? That they're building out. Well, same thing here in America that Donald Trump is building out. All of these clowns are working together and bringing in AI governance. And right now, this is just a shakedown with the government shutdown. We've seen it many, many times. But this is just we're going to remove all these jobs. Well, how are we going to replace them? We're having trouble with air traffic control, and the shutdown's been going down for a while now. What are we going to do? People have to fly. They got to go on vacation. They got to, travel for work. Well, AI is the key. We have a system that runs on AI, and people will accept that. Why? Because they've been conditioned over the last 10 years to hate people who don't think like them, people who don't look like them. You're black, I don't like you. You're white, I don't like you. You're racist, you're racist. You're gay, I don't like you. Your hair's blue, you're a Democrat. Oh, now all of a sudden you have AI and you go, well, it's better than a DEI hire. I'd rather have AI do this because AI doesn't see race, it doesn't see this or that. Well, of course, AI is programmed to see one thing and one thing only. Anybody who's a threat to the state and to their control is they're programmed to go after, right? And that'll end up being everyone. Because when Democrats realize that the system is not for them and Republicans realize that this AI system is not for them and this entire thing is a control grid and a surveillance state, then everybody will be upset, but it'll be too late because the infrastructure will already be in place. And that's what they're doing right now while they distract you with nonsense on a day in, day out basis. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.